Meeting of the year. We're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we can do a little more pleasantries after that. All right, Walker, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hands over your hearts, ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the first board meeting of the year. Very exciting. I think we're still trying to get folks on Zoom right now. Let's give them a minute. We do have a forum. Who's taking notes? That's an open item. I think if Chris is traveling, and again, tonight we're going to be electing board positions. We're going to have to figure out who's going to be taking the minutes. Anybody want to step up and be our minutes taker for tonight? Looking around.
I'll do it.
October. Thank you. All right. Well, we're gonna get things rolling. In honor of James, we're gonna try to run a tight ship here. Hopefully, we do have items to discuss, but hopefully we can get through it as quickly as we can. Public comments. Don't see anything from the public. I don't think we have any. Do we have any Zoomers out there? Okay. Board member comments. Quiet group. All right. I will say, I'll try not to be as lengthy as James, but it is exciting to kick things off. It's a little bit earlier with the school year starting up next week on Tuesday, excuse me. We have a great new leader in Devin, and we'll get a chance to speak here shortly, but I think we've got a really exciting year ahead of us. We've got a really great staff that is on board, and with this earlier start date is going through a development program that is already, hopefully that process is going to start to pay dividends. We'll see it down the road this year. There has been some fresh blood. There's a change here in terms of the staffing. And I think that's combination of different factors, but we're really excited about the direction that we're headed and the group that we brought in, and the direction that Devin is taking us. So I'm really looking forward to a great year. And with that being said, let's jump into it. Reports and presentations. Yes, we're kicking it off with the fiscal report.
Yes.
Josh, you're in the roll.
Yes, okay. So later on, so this is a action item, meaning the board's gonna have to approve it. So what we are talking about, the unaudited actuals, that in essentially is how the school ended the 21-22 year. So as you guys know, we had a budget, and at the time we were working with the current principal and balancing that budget. And so now we actually see how we've done, and they're called unaudited actuals because the next step is that an auditor is going to come in and review them. So for right now, I'm just giving you guys the high level presentation on how the school did for 21-22. What's going to happen is after the board approves it, it's going to get sent to the district. They review it, they'll sign off on it, and we're good as far as that piece of compliance goes. So not too much. Well, you have this not the most reader friendly packet with a bunch of lines and a bunch of colors. It's just the standard thing that we have to put this information on. So I'm going to just cut to the chase, really. If you look at page 3 of 6, you're going to see on this page there's a yellow highlight in the middle of the page. This is just, I'm just going to summarize the year. So the very top, you're going to see excess deficiency of revenue over expenditures before other financing sources and uses. So what that means is that's essentially the net income of the school, or in this case, a loss. So if you look to the far right, the total says the school ended the 21-22 fiscal year with a deficit of $23,267.35. Now, how that factors in with your running balance, that's the highlighted yellow number where it says ending fund balance / net position June 30th. And on the far right, the total is $1,238,462.58. So that is the beginning balance, the number above it that you came into the year at, $1,261,729, less what you ended last fiscal year with, which was a deficit of $23,267.35. So what does this mean? I guess even though it's a loss, ideally you don't have losses, but sometimes you have losses. The budget that the board approved a year ago from today for last year presented a budget of a deficit of $53,000. So you actually did better than the budget. Why? Mostly because additional revenues came in that were utilized to help put you in a better position than what you budgeted. So that's good. Naturally, like I said, though, loss isn't the greatest thing, but it's not the worst thing either. Any questions on the unaudited actuals that you guys will be approving later on in the agenda? No questions. Okay, great. One other thing that, and I know there's not an agenda item, but I would like to give just a general budget update because there was some good news. One of the things that we were working with the last time we approved the budget for the 22-23 year, the budget was, if you recall, like a negative $180,000. So the board approved a budget going into next year with $180,000 deficit. The good news is that the governor's budget had a 12% COLA increase. So that's like a record. It's never been that high. It's probably going to be a one-time thing. So the main thing for you guys to know, and this is just talk right now, this is brainstorming to kind of give you some encouragement. It's not like I don't have it on a piece of paper for a reason. So that could lead to a plus $150,000 in revenue. So obviously a plus $150,000 in revenue really would get you out of your budget at whole. It would really help. Now, last year's budget was based off, or the budget for this year, excuse me, was based off 266 enrolled and 253 ADA. So we'll still have to see how those numbers shake out, if you still actually can hit those numbers or not. But assuming they do, in comparison to the last budget, we're talking about a potential plus 150 revenue that we did not have on last year's budget. So that's just more informative so you guys know. Other things too, like I think Mr. Phillips working on some grants. So those seem encouraging as far as helping with the bottom line, and also working on some salary budgeting from some salaries, been able to try to make some moves, maybe bring people in lower than we expected, things like that. So we are working together to just kind of get the number lower, but most of this is still brainstorm. School hasn't started yet, so I don't even know what the numbers are going to be, but a little bit of good news on the horizon is the reason why I share that. So any questions on that?
Sorry, can you repeat where the possible 150,000 is coming from?
Yes, it's LCFF revenue. That's money. It's money directly tied in with your ADA, so average daily attendance.
And this is from last year, or
it was from the governor's ruling that happens in June, but it gets certified for this year for the 22-23 year. So
When does it get certified? Sorry.
It already happened in like later July.
Okay.
The issue is, we probably don't care about this. There's so many additional like amendments, like it goes through the legislature. Oh, we should want that one, then we want that, and they keep tweaking it. So it doesn't actually get official till like the legislator and the governor signs off on it. I think it's happened, but it usually happens after July.
and does this budget takes into account the grant that James Clarkland was able to secure?
Are you talking about the 98 from last year? Yes.
Yeah.
So that's all.
And there's one more that he had been talking about, but that is still sort of a glint in.
And that, so hold on a second. So I think the 98 has not been received. So we have received it. The foundation is holding it, right? Or have we got the check for that yet?
It's been transferred, but it's not on.
Okay, so that's not on the books yet.
It's not.
It's not on there. Okay. And then the COLA increase covers for the ADA, the way it's written right now, ADA, so we get a big jump in that. Yeah. And then there's a few other things. I know Devin's got some other good news that's coming along too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, Josh, I really appreciated working with you and Johnny on the spot on things. You're teaching me a lot of things, and I think it's going. I appreciate the work relationship. So I just wanted to say that.
Great thing.
Devin, there's a reason that when we negotiated the contract, no joke, part of the negotiation was our requirement of 3-year deal is that he sticks around to work with us. That was part of
Is that real?
For sure.
Wow.
I said, as long as I would be treasurer, James was like, absolutely. We put that in the deal.
Great.
Yeah, so just wrap it up. You'll be approving this.
And I know Devin and I went through it with Josh and Natalie as well. We walked through this on Tuesday.
We got it last week. We were able to kind of do a quick review. It all makes sense and all kind of lines up with what we've been talking about all year.
Great, thank you guys.
Moving down, teacher liaison report.
I don't have a ton to report, just I'm happy to be the new teacher representative on the board. We had our first day of full staff training today, and it's fantastic. I think that the new staff is already getting to know each other, and everything is looking good. I think that we're excited to have a normal year and new leadership and everything. So we're excited, and everything's is going well for the teachers so far.
Moving on, office manager's report, Natalie.
I have an enrollment update for everyone today. So we are currently at 262. We do have some offers out with two possible kindergarten offers that will make their decision tomorrow after they come to the kindergarten meet and greet. So however, though, we do have only a few more on our wait list. And we are full in second, third, fourth, and fifth. The one offer out is probably gonna take it, so we'll be full in fifth. And then we are also full in sixth grade. We are looking for one spot in seventh grade and 2 spots in eighth grade with we have 6 people on the waiting list for eighth grade, and then we have 7 people for the seventh grade wait list. So total, we have 262 coming back or enrolled with us this coming year. Not much else to report on other than, of course, staff is back this week. So needless to say, it's been very hectic. We have a lot of new staff members, so this week has just been focusing on a lot of teamwork, getting all of their supplies and their classrooms ready. And I just want to say that the energy that the new staff is bringing and together with the returning staff has been really, really amazing. It's a really cohesive group just from the get-go. So we're all really excited for this school year. The other little quick note is that our auditor has reached out and we will be finishing the audit in the first week of October.
Natalie, just to make sure I got it right, so we got 262 enrolled. And then there are 2 spots open in Kinder with 2 offers out.
There's 4 offers out, so we have 21 enrolled in Kinder, and then we have 4 offers out, and 2 of them are possibly going to be accepting the offer tomorrow.
Okay.
after the Kinder meeting,
And what's the deadline on the other 2?
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's all for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, but the 2 have reached out to you.
The 2 have reached out and they just want to come to the Kinder meet and greet and then make their decision.
All right, cool. And then on that wait list for Kinders, how many are there?
We only have 3 more on the wait
3
list.
more on the wait list, and then there's none for TK, right? We just have the,
We have full enrollment of the 5 for TK.
What about first grade? I know that kindergarten last year was a huge problem, so I assume that there was.
Yeah, so we were able to get up to 29 and we have 1 offer out.
So there's one spot.
And then, so in 7th grade, there's 1, in 8th grade, there's 2. Are offers out on those as well?
Yes, there's one spot in 7th, 2 and 8 offers out
And when is their deadline for that?
tomorrow.
Both, all tomorrow.
So Natalie, I feel like my math must be wrong. There's 2 openings in kindergarten, 1 in first, 1 currently in fifth, 1 in 7th, and 2 in 8th. That would, with 262, that's 269. So I feel like we're missing a spot. I hear there's no.
We're missing, so Kinder has 21 confirmed, 4 offers that are out. They're not, 2 of them are not confirmed. I didn't know.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
I don't know if this is the spot for it, but you mentioned briefly the new teachers getting together and school supplies being something they're trying to figure out. I know I've heard through the grapevine that parents are wanting to know what the supply list looks like so they can start to get their ducks in
Yeah,
a
so
row.
we have let the teachers know, gather their Amazon wish list and their class supply list, and you should be hearing from your teachers by the end of tomorrow.
And do they have to subscribe on the website for that to the
No,
email or
you
the
can get your
email?
email.
Yeah, just to speak on that, because we didn't have staff back till today, I gave them till tomorrow at 5 PM to get a letter out with the class assignments.
And I think it's compounded by the fact that we're up a week as well, so. some
For
of them
sure,
are like,
and
"Oh
I
my
understand
gosh,
that.
I get
Yeah, everybody's.
It was just really difficult with everybody moving parts until we got everybody. So that was on me, not anybody else.
I think just for a correspondence standpoint, hopefully we don't have this problem next year, right?
Right.
But to kind of give a heads up, hey, we're waiting for the teachers to come in.
Sure.
So that there is at least some communication there, because I think in the absence of communication, the rumor mill starts flying and questions start getting asked, and there's definitely been things through the grapevine that have come up. I think you're hearing it, I know I've heard it, and I'm sure others have as well. So just, it might be good for us operationally just to kind of be more proactive on that
Gotcha.
conversation.
All right, thank you, Natalie. IT report. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had an awesome summer break. Just two things that I have. One, I just want to give you guys an update on the firewall. Pretty much we're good to go on that. The last thing that I gotta do is just implement the policies for web filtering and other things that we gotta do. Another thing, during the summer break, when I was in my Europe, I was like calling a couple of my colleagues to try to figure out, especially when I spoke to Laura last year about the 5-year plan, that we were needing 120 Chromebooks to replace. So I called a couple of colleagues that went from different charter schools, and I was able to get one of the charter schools to be able to donate about 120 Chromebooks, which that estimated total value of what the school is saving is around $23,000. And yeah, that's pretty much my report right now so far. You know, those Chromebooks are in my office. We bought the licenses that we had to do in order to manage them. And yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Christian, how's the website coming?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna ask.
The website?
Yeah.
It's coming along. It's
Yeah.
there, again, you know, whatever small little hicks that need to be fixed, you know, working on it as fast as they can.
ETA on having some of the stuff that's up fixed and kind of full speed.
It all depends on getting the information. As soon as I get, like, if there's any information that's outdated, I need to get all the files or whatever needed to download and upload them again. Again, it's unfortunately when things get rushed at the time, you know, not all the time it comes out perfectly, but whatever seems to be outdated, I'm constantly looking at the website and making sure that everything's up and running. Thank you.
There seems to be a calendar of events on the website, and it looks like a lot of the foundation stuff from like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I'm nervous that people will look at it and take it as what's happening moving forward. I think almost like it would be better to not have it than to have a placeholder. I don't know if that's an option.
For having the event for the foundation.
Is it on the foundation page or on the school page?
It's a crossover of both, because the foundation page has like all of the like movie night and skate night and gala and that stuff on the foundation side,
Currently,
on the newest website.
I understand, but can you just send me a link to that and a screenshot of it? And
Will
we'll
do.
take a look at it, because
Yep.
I'm not familiar than maybe with that.
I think it was just copied forward, but it's from a couple of years ago, so I just didn't want you to end up getting
But within the last like couple weeks.
last week when I looked at it. I'll look at it
Send-
again
yeah.
in case they've
Send
changed
it
it.
over to me.
Okay,
I encourage everybody to go on the website, and just click through different links, explore it, just not only to familiarize themselves with it, but also to identify any potential items. Christian's doing a great job, that all we can do to help him to reconcile those things. We just have at it.
looks like it was outdated.
But he's been Johnny on the spot as soon as we know there's an issue. He's
Yeah.
fixing it
Yeah,
immediately.
he
So-
called me straight away when I reached out to him last week, so I appreciate that. That's great news on the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Is that already filtered into the budget that we are looking at? Do we know?
Yeah,
if it's- are we
that
saying-
was something that originally I was gonna try to figure out how we can be able to purchase for like 30 each year to try to, you know, not not hurt our budget.
Yeah.
But this is something that during the time when I was in my vacation, I was calling schools, and, you know, a couple of directors that I'm really close friends with. And I was lucky enough to that one of them, they got ordered a whole bunch of pallets of Chromebooks, and they were just collecting this with the COVID money. And they were willing to donate. That's the amount that I needed.
So I think to answer your question, Zach, I think what you're asking is on the technology line.
Yeah, do we have 30 grand that we might be able to save?
So we just saved money. Now what that savings looks like yet, we won't really know until we kind of get further into the year with what technology comes from. So like an example, I think it was 5,000 for the licenses. Does that sound correct?
And it's
So,
5,000.
It's coming from the same pool, but instead of having to spend, 23,000 or whatever to get those, he was gonna do it in portions of 30.
Yeah.
Over the course of 4 years, and instead we got the whole lot at one point as a donation. So definitely a huge savings that we technically calculated over the next 4 years.
Thank you.
Is that something that we already, I'm just don't recall, is that something we already approved for the 2022-23 budget?
I think the preliminary budget,
Preliminary
probably
budget,
baked in
so-
some numbers.
Yeah.
associated with those.
And I think Josh is gonna come back with a different budget after these changes. I think we're waiting for some grant information and things like that to come in, and once we can solidify that, then Josh and I are gonna sit down and bring back a new budget to the board so that you guys can see what situation. we're in.
I hate to be the superficial one about the website, like I'll look at the functionality later, but the photo of this random girl, I feel like she's not in a OTA uniform, and we're such a tight knit community that we know that she doesn't go here, so it's a little bit strange. Like,
Last year for a flyer for, pretty much, enrollment to promote enrollment, for, previous executive directors.
Yeah. Yes.
I think my response to that Chuck, would be, my plan has been always to get to those things, to kind of go through the website and kind of get to that stuff. I just haven't yet because of the teacher situation we've been in and get back into school. So probably within the first month, that's going to be an audit that I have. And my goal is to decorate the website with things that we're actually doing here. I want the experience of a parent who's looking into our school to go, oh my gosh, I have to see this in person, right? So I want them to feel as if they have access to our school in some way through the website. So that's my goal for it. But we're at least a month away for me to really want to sit down and really grind.
That's very well taken. I think that's kind of like the point I'm getting at. Like, we want to come across as some like a transparent, accessible, engaged institution, and not like this sort of corporate institution that adopted some form.
And I think that part is well taken, and then hopefully, I know that you've gotten a list from various people about different things updated, links that are broken or spelling errors and that kind of stuff. That stuff shouldn't wait, right?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. He's being immediate
Right,
on this.
right. The stuff you're talking about is simply just the flair and the
Visual
feel,
appeal.
not the functionality or the.
Correct.
Or the,
Yeah.
the spelling and that kind of.
Which is, that's what you were speaking to, right? Just kind of the appeal of it when you open it up and you're feeling like.
I was being, as I said, I was being superficial.
Yeah.
But I think that there are also like deeper ways that we, down the line start to think about like substantive ways people can engage with our community virtually and perhaps that.
Well, and I think in additionally, some of the things that I've talked to the board about are some marketing things that I want to do through the school. And I think those marketing things are eventually going to plot themselves on the website as well as ways to draw traffic into our website. So that's, I've got some goals for that. We just haven't got to that place where we can sit down and kind of do that grind yet. So I do have some hopes and some expectations, and I hope in the next month or two that that's something that you guys can sit down and review and go, okay, I see where we're going.
Great. Yeah, and I think that's something that we can try to solicit, input from the board and from the community.
Of course.
To help, create more engagement.
One more thing on the website. I can see where it says like enrollment and re-enrollment and all of that, but is there a link that we can put there so that people can join the wait list? How do they join the wait list?
As soon as they add their application, it goes into it, correct?
But this has a link for families who want to re-enroll and then the enrollment for the next year. But it doesn't say anywhere like, I'm looking at this, I want to join the wait list. How does a family do that?
Well, I guess I would return a question to you and say, why would a family join a wait list if they were trying to enroll? Because if they're trying to enroll, it puts them on the wait list.
Well, for right now, there's an option to re-enroll or there's an option to enroll in March for the
for next
lottery.
year.
Oh, I see. what
There's
you're
not
saying.
an
So there's not
option to
something for
say-
currently.
Yeah, There's not
I'm
enough-
sorry, I didn't understand that. I don't, I
okay,
didn't think.
I was probably not being clear, but there's not an option to say, okay, I'd like to join the wait list. And so I know we had a family that had trouble, they know us and they were coming back and they
Oh.
wanted to join the wait list.
This is that having to shut down for the 2 weeks that we talked about.
Yeah.
So there's a period of time that we have to shut it down from enrollment so that we can actually establish what our enrollment is. And that's a 2 week window and that pulls down during that period of time. So I think that's what you're seeing.
Are we in there now?
No, it should be open.
It
And I
should
have-
just open back up.
But
I've had have submitted that.
I got it. I got
I
a text
know
during
they
this
are
meeting of
able
somebody who did it. So.
If you go to, so if you go to the tab that says enrollment, it says application for new students. If you click on that whole school in that school mid Old Town link, it takes you to the application. The re-enrollment though should not be up there because re-enrollment has theoretically like been done and gone already. So that
Right.
should be up there. But the link should still be up there.
So that's one, so for example, it says enrollment information for 2021 and 22. So we're a year behind on that, and then. When you click on application for new students, is that what you're talking about? The new student sign up,
Mhm.
and this also talks about 2021.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we
It should-
definitely will.
It should be up.
We'll get that updated.
And then,
And we'll take down re-enrollment too, because that shouldn't be up there.
right, and it should say something in there too, that applications are being accepted, you may be added to the wait list for this
Yeah,
current
it
year.
sounds like there needs to be a blurb about waitlist.
Exactly right.
That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think people want to join the waitlist. They want to get in. That's why I was lost as the question.
Right,
Gotcha.
but
It's just a
Either
crucial
way,
time right
right.
now where. We
we've
don't like
got,
where we're at.
we have a
but
week run, we have a week run before the school's open. And anybody that we can get in the doors to test us out for a week, chances are they're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Right, it's why we wanted to open up the school before San Diego Unified did.
Yep.
So that we don't lose kids, we don't wanna open up afterwards, we want to open up before. And this would be an opportunity for us to get those last couple slots filled potentially.
So the dates are the only thing that needs to be updated, but I
Okay.
just submitted a new application.
Cool.
So the link works.
The link
I'll
works
just
great,
just update the dates.
right? Yeah, Christian, if you can update those dates, because then you know, we don't want it to be confusing, because we may not click on the link thinking it's an outdated link. Yeah, for sure.
And
I-
that's not
I think
even 21,
Kristen,
22, it's 21.
It's correct.
And with the foundation, you said it was a couple of years ago, so I wonder if there's just a glitch that pulled information from a couple of years ago.
I wonder if it pulled from
I
the
think it
from the
might.
website when we came over and
So
pulled the
every-
wrong thing.
Like an old backup.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it here and the dates don't even line up to that was, it's a January 20th. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So basically, everything that was on the previous website that you guys had, everything just got rolled over. So same thing, information, back then, the previous people that were in charge of it. Didn't update the information, there was information that's out there, whatever's on was on the website on the old one, just got rolled over to the new one. And that's where, you know, we got whatever small little changes that need to be done.
Okay. It's a huge job, Christian, you're doing. A lot of hard work. on that.
Thank you.
Any other IT questions? Walker, you're up, real estate advisory panel update.
Okey doke. So we're going down two paths right now. Our tried and true path A, which is continuation of pursuit of this property, working with San Diego Unified School District's Real Estate Committee and their brokerage of choice, which is Colliers. And we do monthly meetings with them. They've sent out multiple letter writing campaigns. They presented a map to us with several overlays for areas that we can't purchase properties or that properties won't be purchased for us, gas lines, or fault lines, pipelines, cannabis, et cetera, et cetera. So far, we're at about 53 locations that we've identified and pursued, and for various reasons, it just hasn't clicked, whether it was the appraisal, whether it was just non-starters. So a little bit frustrating, but that path A pursuit still will continue. Path B, we're starting to get a little bit more creative, looking at our own networks, engaging potentially with other brokers. Recently, I've had a discussion with a couple
former members of San Diego Unified to potentially get a meeting with Richard Perea to just have a discussion and see if we can re-engage with Fremont down the street and just understand from his standpoint, his point of view and present our point of view. And there's a couple strategies I have that I'll share with you as the time comes. So again, it's a little broken record-y of me, but if you guys have anything, know anything for properties, again, we're looking for right around 2 acres. Obviously, we want to be close to Old Town. But it doesn't preclude, like, if you know of something or somewhere that's outside this region, of course, we'll look at it and engage with it. We did get recommendations that classified C buildings for mid-levels, meaning a little bit older office buildings like this could be identified. And while 40 million is quite a bit of money, that's not just for purchase, but that's also for the build out and revitalization as well. And so stuff to be factored in. So it's a little bit boilerplate of me repeating myself, but if again, it's beyond me an army of one, and if Zach's chipping in, I get emails from you guys as well. So I'd love to spike the football and say we got one. Also, though, I don't want to be the one that throws the interception and everyone looks at me and says, you didn't nail it with the school. So help me.
I will say Walker's been really good about pursuing this thing, just dogged and going out and finding different directions. So call it plan A, plan B, or down to E and F. We're just trying to get after it. So yes, please, if you get listings, we'll take texts or emails, but if you have friends that are developers, if you have ideas, just bring them to the table, because we're keep running up into the same wall. We appreciate the efforts that SDUSD has put forward. They have run to ground a lot of the ideas and presented to them, but there's not a lot of thinking outside the box. So we're trying to push the envelope and just get more aggressive with alternatives.
Yeah, and the thing I have to remind myself too is, we went into this 2 years ago during the height of developers scooping up properties similar to, or identifying properties that we wanted build a school in. And so we just can't compete with the speed and the budgets that they have. But now that it's slowed down a little bit, there is some optimism from that standpoint. And we're still in the good graces of San Diego Unified, and they do want to see us continue and thrive. So from that standpoint, that's my halftime motivation speech.
All right. Moving on to board discussion, and I failed really at the front end of this thing. We've got our new board members. The new year, we got our new board members. Welcome, Kate Johnson in person, Daniel Lang over the phone. We can see you on the tiny screen. There you are. Dr. Quesada is not with us today.
I think he's on
traveling
vacation this week, is that correct? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty positive he's on vacation this week, so it just happened to coincide with that.
And also, I probably didn't show the proper reverence to our new leader, Devin Phillips. So excited for you. I know you've been doing a really good job of reaching out to the parents and engaging the community. One of the things that we were hammering towards the end of the year was building that community. So really looking forward to having you come to the charge.
Thanks.
So with that being said, we get the really fun task of divvying up our board member assignments. And it's going to be a tricky one. I'm actually kind of wondering, given how sparsely attended this is, if this is the right, and I think we have to do it on the front end, their first meeting here. Who do we have gone? We have Chris is gone.
He's gonna vote the people in that are gone.
Yeah, Chris is gone.
No, you're not getting it.
I mean, first time.
I will say, Jan is no longer on the board, right? So that's scratched off. So really, we're missing Chris and Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So we got enough here to make some decisions. Should we start with Vice President? just go down the list here? Sure. Is there a certain protocol? I'm just gonna throw it out. All right, VP.
I'll throw my name in the hat for that. I cannot be treasurer, but I certainly be willing to step into BVP and help out as much as possible. Unless anybody else wants to do it. Okay, then we get arm wrestle. Awesome.
Go for
I'll
it.
take it on the arm wrestle, but I'm not interested.
Just for fun. huh?
Yeah, but I'm not interested in GP, but I'm interested in the arm wrestle now.
All right, so I know you're not our secretary officially, but as our acting secretary, please note that Talby is the new VP.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Now, unfortunately, that leaves a gaping hole at treasurer. That is a tall order because there's a lot of number crunching. There's a lot of the need to get it right and to scrutinize, all the different buckets that we're looking.
I will encourage one thing is if anybody who would consider it. We have made great strides over the last few years on treasurer and Josh does the heavy lifting. It's really about being there, knowing the numbers and being able to ask questions, but the actual heavy lifting, even down to printing out or sending Natalie the check register, Josh has put that all in. So the big issue is just knowing the numbers and being able to ask questions about them. And then fill in for Josh to present if he's not, but we try to make it as easy as possible.
Treasurer.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could easily go that way.
Yes.
Daniel, we haven't heard you speak yet. I'm not saying you have to be treasurer. I just want to make sure your microphone's working.
Yeah, it's working.
All right. Okay. Well, we gotta get a treasurer.
We can come back to it, see if it's somebody's fire burns.
Yeah, after
Missing out on secretary.
secretary. I know this is volunteer position, people, and we appreciate all the time that you're dedicating just to be on the board, but unfortunately, there are some additional responsibilities.
So is Chris turned out?
I don't know if he's termed out.
He has not, he's only been secretary for 1 year, right?
We could have him roll over by default. He has done a great job. I haven't heard any public grumbling. Topher looks like he wants to defend Chris from being secretary.
No, I'm not. Hey. Barbie, I was just wondering if you could be secretary and treasurer or what.
So he gonna show up to the meeting next year.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't think we can do it. But
Well, is it mostly minutes?
it's minutes.
Yeah.
And honestly, unfortunately, we're still needing to reconcile some minutes from May and June. I think. So Chris needs to get that tied up if you're willing to take the mantle. After that.
My only thing is that I'm probably gonna be traveling sometimes this year, so I may not be able to do everything.
Okay. You're gonna take it or you support?
No, I'll take secretary.
it? Okay, wow, thank you. Kate.
Way to
If you're
step up,
traveling,
Kate.
then it doesn't make sense.
Great.
But then Chris, I mean, you want to be treasurer?
I mean, all right, let's sell it a little bit more of the treasure. I mean, how much time do you think you dedicate to, you sit down with Josh and you're doing your review, it's once a month or
So-
an hour, half an hour?
I would say realistically, it's probably an hour a month. I spent more than that because I enjoy looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to really push Josh and this video, and I didn't always see eye to eye where the numbers were, so I wanted to make sure I was very deep into it, and I don't think we'll have necessarily the same necessity to be into the weeds that deep. But we need someone watching it. I mean, it is a very important role to know where the money is, what's happening, and because that's where a lot of the risk for the school is.
And I will say you got a lot of good legacy knowledge with Mr. Talby and he always answers the phone. So somebody that does want to be treasurer will have a great resource and sounding board to get ramped
Yeah,
up.
I'm not going anywhere. And realistically, I think it's, how often are those, the meetings with Josh are once a month? Right, the Tuesday,
Meeting, yeah.
yeah, that standing Tuesday meeting. It's done on Teams. It lasts anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes.
Oh, Wednesday, is it during the day?
It-
Yeah.
Yeah, it is during the day. And then, and the last 2 years have been weird, right? So I think the amount of time I have spent is very different because we were in crisis mode for so long, whether it was with Dr. Reed or with Laura and with COVID and all the stuff going on. So I think the requirements for each month are pretty small, given how much we've given to Josh. It really just is, can you read a financial statement and understand what's happening?
Fortunately, I'm looking at the four of you, because there's no one else to look
Yeah,
at.
right.
Right. Or we can just point Chris and see what happens. If we need new one, then if he strenuously objects, then we can.
That's a good point. I
Well,
mean,
that's,
I think that's how I became secretary last year too,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
you might be really relieved to not be secretary.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
particularly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And he is a sympathetic character.
Well,
Let's just tell him we promoted him.
Yeah.
so are there other
like
positions that we're looking?
no, this is the
So
last.
this is the last position for.
Why don't we tentatively plan on having Chris do
Okay,
it?
and if he has strong objections
We can
next month,
reassess.
then figure out.
Yeah, and there'll be additional people here too to have that conversation.
Right, yep.
And hopefully he'll learn his lesson this time.
That's what we were talking about. We're not gonna miss a meeting.
Next meeting is on my birthday. It looks like. You're, okay.
You mean you get to be here?
Yes, yes, thank you. All right. Well, that was very smooth. No consternation whatsoever. I think we've got our assignments for the new year. Moving down the list, where are we here? Parent Foundation Report. Claire Talby.
That's me. All right, we had our first kickoff meeting on the 3rd. We had 11 parents in attendance. We did that on Zoom. I think we were undergoing some maintenance here. Future meetings will be on campus, but still with the Zoom option. That seemed to work out for a lot of parents. A lot of parents have indicated that that's helpful for them to be able to participate. Jogathon selected a theme. Ospreys Unite will be the Jogathon theme this year. So they're moving right along with that. We were able to officially vote in an auditor role. Still open is a parliamentarian, and I think we may have sourced a webmaster at our extra uniform sales today. So hopefully that's coming on board. I will just mention, I know you guys all just talked a lot about the website. The foundation has been doing a lot of work to try to notate where updates are needed. And again, we have this new webmaster in. She seems very energetic about making some adjustments. So if you all find some time and you want to have a collaborative discussion about the website, there are quite a few folks who have put some ideas in place, and we'd love to at least talk about it so we have a cohesive site. Understood they're separate, but it would be nice to have a joint vision for the school. On that front, we have spent some time, we have built out an online volunteer form. That is working. We just need to get that added to the volunteer site and figure out how to get that reporting out to us. So that will get updated. The meeting agendas and the meeting minutes, we're working on getting those updated to the website as well. So that's been a big focus for us. Communication is our first priority. Celeste is working on the social communication. So if you are hearing from parents that there are still some socials that are not updated, we are still working on getting admin rights turned over. We're getting stuff posted through the OTA Helping Parents Facebook, but we're still working on getting the rest of it turned over so that we can post to them. The uniform sales are going well so far. We've raised about $1,000 on the used sale. The new sales, I don't have visibility into the. I don't have those. Okay,
Eventually.
all right, so good to know. Great. Let's see, looking forward, our next meeting is on the 7th. We're gonna be focused on building out the volunteer database, and on movie nights is our next up and coming item. Any questions from the board?
Thank you. You referenced social, and this is just more in general topic
Yes.
for me. We have two different socials. Do we have a school versus a foundation?
Technically,
Yeah.
there's 3 different.
Yes, yeah, so there's the school K-8 OTA school Facebook page. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's 3 Facebook pages, one that's the school, one that's the foundation, which I don't know. We're just figuring that out.
And then the parents helping parents, which is where most of the interaction is today. That's where most of the back and forth is. So we've been posting our events through that for right now. It's where most of the parents seem to be housed anyway. There's also Instagram for both school and foundation. There's an old Twitter account. There's a lot of social.
It sounds like.
We're trying to wrap our arms around all of it. But again, I think because there is also the school specific one, it'd be great if we could at least identify what they all are together and come up with a game plan. I understand the need to keep them separate, but I think it'd be good if we collaborated on the vision, agreed on which ones to maintain and which ones we're gonna maintain content and how we cross content them.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but then we also have a text communication for the school.
There was simple text, which is what we were using over the last couple of years because we didn't have any technology anywhere else for texting. But my understanding is Edleo will have its own text message, so that's gone. The old text message is gone and that will be run through the new website.
And then the sidebar it and.
Yeah.
Communication.
It honestly would not be a bad idea
Yeah.
to sort of maybe gen up a committee to figure out our game plan as a school and foundation as a whole, so that we're not all running at odds with each other.
Be clear question on this, sorry, I'm brand new to this, what's the way to complete the mission? I already have a list of changes, say you wanna make the website that you're organizing, where is that, can we collaborate on that? I thought we do that.
Where's the change? Who's the committee that's working on changes for the website? I think what you're asking is there's a foundation, there's a couple people on the foundation that are working on it.
Yeah, there's not a committee at large. I am suggesting, I think it would be good for the school and foundation to have a joint committee to talk about a strategy for our full social picture so that we're not running at odds. There's not one now.
I see. Should we, so are we trying to form it right now, or?
Are you
No, not
volunteering?
yet, but if you're volunteering, it sounds like a great place for you to start.
Yeah, I think I am.
And it-
Yes,
Excellent.
yes.
I think it comes with the treasurer position too.
I heard it.
Well, only. Time only up. So Daniel, just, we appreciate that, and Claire and Daniel, you guys will hook up.
Yeah,
and then-
we'll touch base and then let's figure out, again, I think there's some importance in Kate can, help us with that too. There's some importance to keep them separate, but having a joint vision and so
Yeah, yeah.
not working at odds, I think is gonna be really important.
Yeah, it's
It's
almost-
a
Yeah,
lot-
there's
it's a lot
the
to
parent
work.
helping parents page is actually a closed
Yeah.
Facebook group, which is different from having a forward facing foundation page. So you have to have both, but yes, having them both collaborate would be great.
Just
Yeah.
some communication org chart even. would help,
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Is there a, like, I heard you guys mention, is the time of essence here, like, do we need to do something with the next week before school starts?
Feels like it's rushing.
I think time is important. People are desperate for clear communication and seeing things be updated. But I think to Christian's point earlier, rushing it is not helpful.
Yeah.
But I think getting the committee in place, and we could even just send out a notice through the school and say, hey, we understand our social media presence needs to be, and we are working on building that out. We have a committee in place and we're working on a plan, I think would curtail a lot of the conversation right now.
I mean, Claire, you said it under your breath, but half-hearted or half jokingly. But if you don't have access,
What Celeste is actively working on making sure we have all of that.
right, it just seems like some fundamentals need to be established for.
Documentation is a huge part of our, documentation is all we've been doing also.
Any other questions? Thank you, Claire.
Yep.
Yeah, Christian. Oh, Daniel, you lucky dog. You've only got 10 more minutes before you, what about everybody else that's logged in?
It's only you, Daniel.
No, so.
Yeah.
I assume it's the free version, just for join after.
Yes, perfect. Okay, great. All right, moving on, principal report, our first principal report. Mr. Devin Phillips.
Well, I'm just gonna kind of go down the line of things that I got here. The first one is I have in front of you guys, a school UPC, which is a uniform complaint policy. updating. I'm requesting that we pass this tonight. The only difference that comes in it is the uniform complaint policy that we had here at the school gave me 5 days to find discovery. It's standard to have 60 days. If you go to any district's website and look at their uniforms complaint policy, you're gonna find out that it's a 60-day turnaround that they get. Doesn't mean they take the 60 days, but it means they have the 60 days for true discovery. That's the only change in the policy that I'm asking, is it to go from 5 days to 60 days. So that's a votable item tonight, or an action item tonight.
Turner, I know you were involved with the interaction with the school districts. And this is a byproduct of that, right? I mean, it's the 60 days inconsistent with anything we discussed with them, or?
No, I mean, the 60 days. It doesn't ring a bell from anything that
I know that the importance of the UCP was definitely highlighted. So
Yeah,
getting that.
yeah. I think that, 60 days is what's standard, so.
Next, I wanted to give you guys an update on building repairs. Within there, I think you guys have the elevator quote that we got. I've been working with both Kona to see if there were any ways that we could get kind of a discount, whether that mean through social media push by adding them into our social media, by signing a longer contract with them for repairs here. We're talking through a bunch of things. They're kind of they're looking at it now. I'm also working with the leasing company, as we've not officially got a word back on who owns this issue. According to our lease, if it's a foundational issue, it is the property owners, not the tenants. However, the last time I talked to the leasing company, they sent a guy out to look at it, to evaluate it. His response was that he didn't see it as a foundational issue. But I talked to Kona and I talked to the experts in the elevator field, and they said they feel that it's at least a 70-30 foundational issue, if not more. So I've returned that information back to the leasing company. Unfortunately, because I've been PD, our what would you call it? Tenant manager. We've just been playing phone tag. So she sent me an email today. I'm gonna get back to her as soon as I can this week so that we can try to see what it is based on the elevator. So we're kind of in limbo right now. Bad news about that limbo, just for us being a public entity, is that if we said today, if right now you guys gave me the okay, we're gonna pay the full amount for it. We're gonna dive into it. It's going to take 4 to 6 weeks, 4 weeks to get the part and 6 weeks to possibly even get in the building to start it. So that's kind of the rush in the matter. So I wanted to update you on that. Any questions on the elevator before I move on?
So it's not functional.
It's currently not functional, which is clearly an issue.
We open ourselves up to any potential,
Right.
liability.
Well, we do open ourselves up to liability, right? If we have a person who enters the building, we have to give them accessible education where they can access. And right now, we don't have, to our knowledge, any issues of students or adults that need that service. But we are open to that possibility of that liability if that happens. I have devised some plans for parents if they come into the building and have accessibility problems, so that I can meet them at the accessible level. But we're definitely still gonna have to continue to work through this issue.
I think the ADA would make it the owner's issue since they're.
Wouldn't disagree with that.
Do we need to get more than one quote?
I don't think the quote's the issue. I do think that it is possible that this is something that we have to push back on with the leasing company. I do think that that's likely the path that we end up taking, unfortunately, and clearly that will be a discussion at some point. But I'm a super optimistic person, so I'm just hoping that there's going to be some turnaround or some insight that they come to here in the near future.
Yeah, especially if the leasing company sent out a repairman. And that was the one that didn't say it was foundational. Seems like they maybe got a pick of the litter of the repairmen that they would want.
It wasn't a repairman. It was a building manager who has an expertise in elevating to check it on their end, to take the quote that I sent them to kind of compare it to what he saw. But he, in conversation with me, admitted that he's not really an elevator guy, just the buildings that he has have elevators in them, and so he was overseeing.
We have a letter from Kona that says it's foundational.
No, but it has been requested.
Okay.
And what they're currently doing actually, is I'm working with the Kona is actually a national or like a worldwide company. So the head is San Diego. He and I have quickly built a positive relationship, and he is also a building manager, and so he is actually going through the lease to see what he can write right now that might indicate that it's their role to pay. And so he has currently our lease information in those areas, so he can look through it and see what he sees within it. So I'm waiting patiently back from him.
Yeah, so I'd say to have two things. One, we can't afford to be too patient.
I'm
right?
aware.
But two, I think if there's any pushback from them anymore, we may need to discuss engaging legal counsel. Right, this is a financially ridiculously high number. And by most accounts, I think anybody would consider the actual existence and then operation of an elevator would be foundational, really.
Well, I have the notes upstairs, and I apologize, I probably should have brought them with me, but my understanding is the elevator that we have is, I want to say 42 years old.
Right.
And it's not out of standard, but it needs to be severely modernized. And in order to be severely modernized, it would take $100,000. Was the kind of the general quote of what.
In addition to this,
This is just to get it up and running. And
would that $100,000 supersede this, or you're saying it would be $100,000 to fix it and then $100,000 to upgrade it?
my understanding is if we went to modernize it, which would include redoing all of the things that are in this, it would basically take $100,000. So they would theoretically, this would be fixed in it because
Okay,
they would be
so I'm
putting a new
confused,
one in it.
Because this bid is effectively $100,000.
I know.
So what you're saying is we spend $100,000 to sort of fix it, which kind of puts a Band-Aid on it, right? Some
Mhm.
stereo strips on the cut.
Yep.
Or we can replace it for $100,000.
That is my understanding
Okay.
in the conversation that I had. Having said that, the difference is if we choose to modernize it, that 100,000 is on
It's
us.
ours, right?
Where if it is repaired, there's still the possibility of it being repaired or band-aided by someone else currently. I know, I was a little bit shocked by this.
On us, but fixing it is potentially.
If we were to replace it, that would be a decision we would make and that would fall on us.
Okay.
So we need to get some in writing once we get this response back, but to Talby's point, we gotta get it in a timely fashion. We should circle up and figure out what our options are, so that you're not out there on your own trying to negotiate with these guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But at the same token, I feel like it's a little bit like trying to find the building right now. Every door that I open up, just seems to have another door that I gotta figure out how to get through right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenario. I mean, kids are kids get injured, kids.
Yep.
People need.
But y'all totally
Kill
fix the wall. Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we would have had the board meetings downstairs.
I know,
They're
right?
the perfect example of the accessibility. I'm
Well,
talking
there
about.
are
been
two
now.
doors over here that we can.
Yeah,
get
you can
through.
get people in level.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. There are ways.
That back
Sure.
door and then we can get into here.
Yeah,
So technically, we would be able to bring.
that's what I'm saying. There are accessibility ways that we can do. They're just not
convenient.
conventional necessarily. They're not a good look for us in my. Plus, we moved a piano up and down that. Yeah. Not that piano, different piano. We moved a different piano.
So, but if you keep us in the loop, that way, if we do need to start talking about engaging legal counsel, that'll require a vote of the board as well, so.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that those of you who would like to have that conversation, we should probably plan a conversation next week. Just so that way I've got information back and can update. you.
There are other issues that we've discussed in the past as well, that could sort of be wrapped into that umbrella.
The building.
No, not other building issues. I'm talking about other student issues that could be wrapped in the conversation about.
I think it's a little different.
Yeah, we need to-
It is, but conceivably, you could think about going the same. There'd be two different issues, but you might be able to think about going the same. Charter school, whatever.
All right, so what are we on? C?
Yeah, we're on BB actually on my schedule. We had a water heater go out in the upstairs girls and boys bathroom. Mario has come in, given an estimate, and we're working on that. That's a have to as well. Just wanted to give an update on that. And we've had leaks on the first floor, which is, up this floor a little bit. Hold up. No, on this floor. So on this floor, which is clearly like interesting, right? Because there's a whole floor between us. So Mario has come in, and what it is we have some roof drainage issues, which Mario shared that when he inspected this building before it was purchased, all of the roof maintenance was done by the leasing company. And so he has shared that it looks like whoever had done whatever really just band-aided it and has had direct water to the wrong locations. And so that water's been running into the room. So he is also working on shifting the flow of the water off of the roof because it's actually coming from our air conditioning. The condensation is what is running into the classrooms right now. So he's also working on that. So I wanted to give you those two updates as well. Any questions on those things?
It's just a bad sign. Air conditioners are causing that much leaks. That's not.
Well, again, it was a roofing issue, and it doesn't sound like they were set to drain properly from the get-go.
Yeah,
which is
but that's not a lot to have to, right? I guess.
No, but when they're running on a consistent basis through the day, it builds up a lot of condensation.
Yeah.
Next, wanted to get into masks at OTA. Wanted to talk really quickly. The current board policy is that we're going to follow state and local guidelines in what is recommended for masks. The CDC over the weekend, however, really drastically changed their stance on COVID. They have removed the recommendation to have cohorts, which we do have cohorts, and we will have cohorts because we're one grade, so that's not an issue for us. They changed the recommendation to conduct screen testing to focus on high-risk activities during COVID. So we don't necessarily have to test in-house the same way we have. There's really a change there. They've removed the recommendation to quarantine unless it is a highly contagious area. So if you were in a purple area, then you are asked to quarantine. But outside of that purple area, where students are not being asked to quarantine anymore. These are all school policies, by the way, what CDC said. They've added detailed information on when to wear a mask, but those masks are really just during outbreaks. So when your specific area becomes purple, which keeps us in the guideline that we already had in place. And San Diego Unified School District changed their policy, and they will not be opening with masks either. So I just wanted to give you guys that update. I think we're in line with where we need to be, and it was nice for us to just kind of sit and see what the field did. And it seems like just sitting there and everybody came and joined us eventually. So any questions on masks?
You said they changed the quarantine, but it was the quarantine for exposure, right? Not for infection.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
I will just say one thing. I think that is positive, just to have more clarity as to where it's going to go. We still obviously encourage folks that don't feel comfortable to wear masks, and we'll recommend that. But it's just, again, it's a choice. So people that want to, absolutely, please mask up, and those who don't want to, that's also a choice. But we'll be responsive as things change. We'll follow the science. If conditions develop in individual classrooms, we'll also probably change how we urge folks to respond. But again, we'll just be nimble as much as we can while recognizing that we've already voted on this issue. We're going to follow the science. We're going to follow what's going on in the community.
What do we still have left over from last year? Do we still have in-class air filters? Are we going to provide masks for those that want them?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know the air filter question.
I thought we didn't.
I would assume that.
Still have air filters.
Yeah, I know.
Place. There's actually a COVID and school update webinar tomorrow. We'll have a little bit more information. The guidelines from the county still haven't been updated. So we're just looking for uncertain. That's just how that affects schools.
I don't know what
Obviously,
happened here with
send
your filters. I don't know what was
Originally-
changed.
Yeah, originally the foundation bought a filtration, a HEPA filter basically for each room.
Yeah, so I
Um,
wouldn't see why they wouldn't be in place. Is there any
Right.
reason they still would, yeah, so I would
The
assume that.
reason, the only reason they weren't running them is sometimes like in the younger classrooms, it's really loud and
Gotcha.
it's a small spot. So it was hard to run 24/7, but
Well, good to know and also good to communicate that we still have these.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Next I wanted
What's the
to,
best place for us to communicate that,
I'm sorry.
yeah. What's the best way, like, for us to communicate that? I mean, I think clear communication here is good. Where we good. Website or?
Wants to know how we would communicate. Are you communicating our, like our policy? Is that what you're wondering?
No, where, like, I think this policy, where, yeah, where do we put it? Just curious where.
But I think right now it's not a change from anything. It's current operating procedure, so I don't think we need to, we might want to just say, as maybe as part of your introductory email, just as a reminder, masks are optional but encouraged, or whatever, however we want to do that, but just, you know, can even tie it to it as we've discussed and as previously directed.
Yep.
Yes, OTA is following, continuing to follow state and local guidelines and CDC recommendations.
Yeah, and I think it's just sort of, we're staying the course from what we've already decided.
And that could be principals message, that could be just general blog posts.
But Dan, to your point, I mean, you're right, we should broadcast it to the group, so I don't know if you're planning already, if you already have done some outreach, but if you could, just kind of kicking off the year, put it in there as one of the bullets, I think that would be helpful.
yeah, sometime between Friday and Sunday, I was planning on sending out something that just kind of like, hey, we're getting ready to do this next week, so I'll make sure that that kind of gets in there as well. Honestly, it was on my notes to do so, but I'll make sure there's an emphasis on it to kind of focus on it a little bit, maybe bold some things in it.
That's great, thanks.
Next, I just wanted to give you guys an update on what we're doing as a staff right now, because I think it's really important. If you email me right now, it's going to tell you that I'm in professional development for until Monday. And I think it's important that you guys know what we're doing. Today, we opened up with staff, so all the teachers came back, everybody was in-house for the first time. We had new teachers yesterday. We did a little bit of an introduction where we went over benefits and little things for them, but today we opened up full staff. I really opened up the year with the nitty-gritty of the changes that are going to happen here, and I was very upfront with the staff. You know, when I was hired, when I sat in front of you guys and you interviewed me, my intent was to come in and really understand the old town way, and then maybe put my twist on it a little bit. But as the staff turnover occurred, I felt like it was the best time to go ahead and make that change, all the changes that I was planning on maybe bringing in. As I've talked to the veteran teachers, you know, I spent a little time with them today. They shared they didn't feel like it was any kind of hard shift or anything like that, that they really enjoyed the structure and felt strongly about the things that we were doing and that they were important. We had a 3-hour session on restorative practices today from a world-renowned restorative practitioner who just happens to be a good friend of mine. So we got that at a really discounted price. But it was pretty amazing. And my big focus right now is, because we are new and coming from different directions, is to build community amongst the staff. And so we are each doing an introduction on who we are to each other as like a PowerPoint presentation, but we also spent a lot of time today literally in a circle on the floor talking about different things that have occurred in our lives and how we got in our journey here. Tomorrow, we're going to go through some massive iReady training so we can really get our data and assessment in line, as well as robotics training and SST training that Kyle's going to lead, which is our RTI program, and we're going to get more in depth with that. On Friday,
Sorry, can you run us through those acronyms? I know we should probably.
sorry, RTI stands for response to intervention. So it's SST stands for Student Success Team. I went blank for a second. So the goal of that is going to be like, if we have struggling kids, how do we respond to those struggling kids? And so we're putting a committee approach together on that. That committee approach would be a full staff approach. where we're going to individually talk about kids, but as a focus of having all of the educational brains at the table on how we're going to help that child learn. On Thursday, so tomorrow, we're getting into iReady training. iReady is our assessment system on really progress monitoring. So we have a beginning of year, middle of year, end of year assessment that the students take. It is not for a grade, it's not for anything but to give us information on where that student is, how much they're growing, what interventions or accelerations that they may need in their education. And so they're going to be trained in that tomorrow. Friday is when we get back to our real core of what I think this school is, the foundation of the school, which is core knowledge. And we have a full day training of core knowledge. That I want to say this, restorative practices, core knowledge, iReady, all of these things are going to be trainings that continue throughout the year. That's, in my opinion, one mistake that leaders make. They front load at the beginning of the year and they assume everybody's just going to remember. If you've ever been a student in a classroom, you know that you forget a lot of stuff that happens on the first day and you need that cycle throughout the year. So that's my plan with professional development. We're also going to touch on core virtues on Friday. And then on Monday, we're going to have Dr. Cara Rommel, who runs the Aspire Center across the street. That center, if you don't know, the VA Center is an entire mindfulness center for veterans, and they're going to come over, tell us what they do, how they do it, how they implement it, so that we can start to utilize those things with our students. In addition to that, just for mindfulness, we did move the music room down into this corner classroom, and now what used to be the music room is an entirely empty classroom right now. And thanks to the wonderful foundation that we have here, they are going to be furnishing that mindfulness room, or at least the start of that furnishing of that mindfulness room. And we're going to go over school safety, and we're going to have special ed training as well. So that's what we're deep into just to start this year. And it is, in my opinion, one of the most robust professional development schedules I've put together. But I felt like since a lot of us were new, and since a lot of the veteran teachers hadn't had some of these trainings, it was time to really grind and get us ready for the year. So I wanted to share that with you, as well as I wanted to share, part of those, that staff is new staff. So I wanted to kind of just introduce some of those people, or say their name at the very least. We do have a new kindergarten teacher who I did see floating through the hall, but it didn't look like she made it in here. I don't know if she couldn't find the room or not. Her name is Lauren Little, and she is a first-year teacher, but I can't say that I've ever run into a person that was more of a kindergarten teacher than Mrs. Little. She's going to be really great. Natalia Vincenti is our first grade teacher. She was hired before I got here, but she is fantastic and actually came from a STEM school in the past, so she's got experience in STEM. Kimberly Fitzpatrick is our new second grade teacher. I can personally speak to Kim Fitzpatrick's talents because she worked for me last year. I brought her over from the school I was at last year. And I can tell you, because I know there's a lot of nervousness with what second grade will look like, as that's a lot of what I've been hearing. I would classify Ms. Fitzpatrick, and I'm glad she's not here because this would embarrass her. I would classify her as one of the top 5 teachers I've ever seen in my career. And so I do deeply believe that no matter how rough this class may be, or the perception of roughness that class may be, she will be able to build community in that class. Not to say it's going to be a day one thing, but over the course of time, I have no doubt that she's going to be able to handle and effectively teach that class. Sarah Bowens is actually our new 3rd grade teacher, but she was hired to be our kindergarten teacher by Ms. Padillo. I asked Sarah, as she was on our staff, to be part of interviews for new teachers, and Miss Lauren Little, our now kindergarten teacher, walked into the interview. When she walked out, I turned to Sarah Bowens and I said I would hire her in a heartbeat, but only if she was our kindergarten teacher. So I think Miss Bowens, took that for a second, but she responded back within 24 hours saying she would be ecstatic to go back to 3rd grade because that's what she's taught the last 3 years. So it was a wonderful switch where we acquired another great teacher in Lauren Little. We hired officially a STEM teacher Monday morning at 8 a.m. His name is Alan Partita. Alan is nothing short of a genius. He actually comes from San Diego University in the teaching program, but he is I believe, I'm not supposed to talk age, he's very young. But he graduated from law school at 22. And then decided that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a science teacher. So we have gained a very, very intelligent person who is ecstatic to take over our robotics program. And with some visions I have that I'm putting into place with him, I think that's going to be an incredible program. We hired an ed specialist by the name of Robin Flores, and Mr. Maxey, who I'm going to introduce in a second. He shared with me earlier today that she is exactly what he was hoping to have work in the SPED department, as they've been working closely together. So really excited about that hire. And although I cannot take credit for Mr. Maxey, who is our SPED director, I do want to say that I've gotten to work very close with him, and he is, Laura did a very good job in finding him. So I would like him to stand and introduce himself so everybody knows who he is.
I'm Kyle Maxey, the director of SPED here. Really excited to join the team. I think we're just, as Devin said, the new hires, the existing hires, the vibes and the cohesion that the group already has is pretty astounding. And just even just this one day, I forgot that it's been one.
It's only been one day. I know
That's crazy to say, because we really have only been together as a team one day, and it feels really good. So I'm really confident that we're gonna have great.
Next, I'm going to move down to job descriptions. So I do have 2 job descriptions that will be action items tonight. The first is the STEM teacher, as I did make some, I don't even know that there was a job. I think I had to write this job description. Now that I think about it, there wasn't a job description for STEM because Ms. Vickers had been here for so long, I don't think one existed. But within that job description, I did add one specific thing that was different from most STEM positions, and that is that our STEM teacher will be the robotics coach. So it's a dual job. I put it into the job, and I explained in the interview process that that was part of the expectation. But the job itself is to teach 4th through 8th grade STEM, but to also oversee the robotics program K through 8. So I did implement a robotics program that will be taught on a semi-daily basis. It's in the schedule daily, but it has some flip for the teacher, some room to navigate. So we are going to start with B-bots in kindergarten and 1st grade. We're going to have dot and dash in 1st and 2nd grade. And moving after that, we're actually going to get into the nitty-gritty of competitive robotics.
As a school.
As a school.
So what was previously after school now?
It will be done during school. For the middle school, which will be our competitive team to start off with, we will have a competitive team that will be an elective that we run during the day. It'll be 40 minutes at the end of the day, and Mr. Partita will have that robotics elective all year long. So the kids within the robotics program and that elective may change, but it will stay in the same slot the whole year. Any questions on the STEM position? Okay. The last one that I have job description is the nutrition services supervisor. This is our, for more layman's terms, our breakfast and lunch provider or person. It is a part-time job, 27.5 hours a week, I think is what I calculated it to. And this person will be in charge of packaging breakfasts and heating and distributing lunches. That's really the bear of it, making sure that everything's clean and sanitary. Any questions about the nutrition?
That one's open.
It is open. I am hoping to, if I'm being honest, I'm hoping to hire someone. The person I said earlier that texted me about their applications going through is the person who I'm probably going to hire for that job. They would just like their kids to go to this one. No questions about that?
Just along those lines, not related to the job description, and I think it's probably, we don't have enough folks for us to gain any real traction here, but I think it's really essential that we all word of mouth talk about the new lunch program. And just to message again that I think people are kind of thinking this is a, hey, great, free lunch for everybody, but it's in fact an expense to the school. So people have opted in, not necessarily recognizing that it's additional dollars that will be incurred and will hit our bottom line. So although we're really excited about the program for those families that need it, and encourage people to sign up that need it. We don't want everyone to just think, hey, this is great, we're getting free lunch. So if you could just shoulder tap or reach out to the community, just kind of emphasize that message. Yes, making lunches is a pain in the butt, but ultimately, it, helps out the school.
Was there something like prohibiting us from saying that when we send out information? Because
So we as a school can't deter
That's what
anybody from signing up to it. And that's a conversation that President Davis and I had. And I shared with him, it's our job to let everyone know that this program exists. As a school, we cannot put a deterrent in there to say, we want you to, or don't want you to, or it helps us if you don't, or it helps us if you do. All we can do is nudge, which is kind of what I had shared. Now, if it is a program that helps us financially, there's not actually anything that says we can't nudge a little bit in sending multiple emails to remind people that we need them to. But in this case, that's not necessarily the situation, which is why it kind of stopped at the point where we introduced the program and let people know what it is.
I think it's really just, to your point, as a school, you have to tread the line a lot more carefully.
Yep.
From our standpoint, it's just more clarification.
Absolutely.
And the cost per kid or per day for the program that costs the school, it was, as I recall, it was like $2 or $3 per kid or
It
per day?
is almost $3.
Okay, $3. Okay.
And we recoup a portion of that. We just don't recoup 100%.
Right, no, I thought the excess was $3. The net cost was the net, was the $3 the gross or the net? I thought the net was $2 or $3. Then it was gonna go to it was gonna cost us in our budget.
No, so the reason why we went with Sandwich Unified was because it was gonna get us closer to the bottom dollar. So we will basically come out probably, I don't have their exact numbers yet, but I think we're closer to about 70 cents. That will have to get.
And then forgive me, because I hate asking questions about something I just saw a headline on and didn't read the article. But wasn't there something new from the state of California about some additional funding for lunch for public schools?
It was a headline, we haven't gotten into the official.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. There's not been any. I'm on 1,000 email lists. If Laura did anything before she left, she made sure I signed up for every update that I could possibly get in the world. And I have not gotten an update on that email. Now, granted, I haven't really checked my email today. As I said, I was in PD and then getting prepared for this meeting. So there could be something in there today, but I haven't seen anything up. The last thing I
communicate the cost of the lunch program to the parents.
What was the question?
could we communicate the cost? I think that the point being is that the school can't, because that could be
Could be viewed as deterring
viewed as a
someone.
deterrent versus us saying it here, just giving the information. People can make their own decisions.
There's gonna be a lot
The
of questions.
foundation could maybe take some.
Again, it goes to Zach's earlier point, it's a tap on the shoulder or just.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. The new thing, hey, what's the deal? Can we just, clarify wherever you can?
I'm able to share, if anybody comes and asks me, I'm able to share what it costs them, what it costs us, what the difference is. What I can't do is try to deter them from signing up for that program or
Right.
not signing.
And nor would we want to.
Sure,
Right, but
sure.
it is important that people understand what that there is a
Absolutely.
financial, currently, the way it stands today, the best we know, there's a financial cost. to the
Yeah,
school.
for every lunch that goes out, we're going to pay a little bit.
Yeah.
But the large portion to Natalie's point, we're gonna recoup most back. But there's gonna be loss. Unfortunately, that is what it is.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last thing I got on my report, I've communicated this to Zach to make sure that he was aware and that the board was aware. But 2 weeks ago now, or a week and a half ago. So originally back in April or March or whenever they came out with the TK policy that everybody was required to have one as a public entity. They came back about 2 weeks ago and said, well, no, wait a second. All public entities except for public charters have to have TK. So they changed that policy, even though multiple schools like ourselves have scrambled to get this policy up and running. So I did want to communicate that. we do get roughly $28,000, I think, to get the program up and running. We would have to return that if we decided not to do it. My understanding is the board wanted to continue to run TK, start it in the kindergarten program with the hopes of having its own class next year. So that's the path I'm on, but I wanted to make sure that was communicated to the board and to the public.
And some of the rationale there, just for everybody to get on the same page. We had already kind of ramped up to implement this program. We have families that were banking on it that only found out a week and a half ago that are existing OTA families. And it could be a potential competitive advantage for us in the future. So it was something that, got reactive, oh, good, we don't have to deal with this headache, but by the same token, but this might be a blessing in disguise, and we've already prepared for it. So let's go ahead and implement it and not pull the rug out from our families. And we're gonna hopefully then have that be just another differentiator for us.
In a perfect world, next year we get a full class of TK and a full class of K.
Yes, there's a couple obstacles in our future. We remain in the building for that to happen.
Yeah.
TK has to have a restroom in it. The only classroom that we currently have that has a classroom is kindergarten. We have not had any kind of estimate or somebody come in to tell us what it would take to have a restroom put into what would now be mindfulness room, would easily be the TK transition room. So we haven't had any of that stuff. That's stuff that we have to look into as we go forward.
Is this something that if we have it this year, we are committed to it, or this could be just like our pilot year to see what's.
I think once we started, it's expected to remain. I don't know the law on that, or I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty confident that's the expectation from the state. I would have to read it more specifically to answer that question.
Do you know if other public charters have reacted to the rescinding of this and have actually dismantled their programs so that we do wind up being a differentiator?
I don't know of any programs that have, the two charters that I'm still pretty closely aligned with. One already had kind of the model that we have going on, which is where the TK was in the kindergarten, so that is remaining in place. The other has established a full TK, and so that was based off of the money that they were getting. So they're moving forward with that. So we don't know anybody who has rescinded that offer at this current juncture. But I'm sure if we watch the news, we'll find out soon enough who did. So.
Perhaps it's just a matter of keeping up with the government.
Yep, it is. And so that's all I got for you guys tonight. But I want to end by saying, just reiterating, I think what some of my colleagues have said, and that is that we are really excited about this year. And I really think that we have an incredible staff. I think this is definitely, at least coming into the year, it feels like one of the best teams I've ever assembled, and I'm all about teams. So that feels really great.
Moving down the list, student report. Nothing to report, or we look forward to getting our students back. New business consent action items. Okay, so we have to approve the board meeting minutes. I don't know if we have them because Chris isn't here.
I don't think we've seen them right now.
All right, so we're gonna again kick the can.
Hunting.
A new secretary, it's a pretty low bar for you this time.
No, I mean, I'm
Just kidding, Chris. If you-
Look
All right, unaudited actual. All right, so
That's what we walked through, Josh walked through at the high level. I think everybody got copies of.
Yeah.
Previously.
okay, so Daniel can hear us. All right, are there any questions on this? I'm gonna put it up to vote. Can I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I'm thinking that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
You got the abstention?
Sorry.
Devin.
Okay.
You're gonna have to make some hard votes in here though, just so you know.
I'm just gonna be 100% honest, since eyes came to me when I abstained. I've never known an executive director or CEO to sit on the school board, and so therefore, unless it is really, really deeply involved in me, or I feel like my vote is gonna make a difference, I plan to abstain to most votes. I don't think that is what my job is to do. I think my job is to carry out what the board says they want to happen at the school. But if my vote's gonna be the difference maker, I plan to vote.
All right. Or if it's a highly contentious subject,
Well,
which I'm hoping it won't be.
Yeah,
but
me too.
We're gonna need you to take a position.
For sure.
All right. Approval of the check register. Does everybody had an opportunity to review the check register? Okay.
I'll make a
motion to approve it. Thank you, Walker.
I'll second.
Mr. Talby, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, Daniel, I see the thumbs up. All those opposed? I guess there's nobody else, and one abstention. All right, approval of the this was UCP or UPC? UPC? But it's uniform complaint.
Yes, UCP.
Approval of the uniform complaint policy. Okay, so we talked through that earlier. I don't know if there's any other questions or discussion. Seeing none, I'm going to put it up. Yeah, Daniel.
Just a question, so basically the difference here is going from 5 days to 60 days, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
give
sir.
us more time for due diligence, essentially.
Yeah, time for discovery. I mean, if you're in what I would call a real investigation, 5 days is not enough turnaround time to really investigate. Sometimes you don't even have access to the people you need to in 5 days. So while I think 60 days is honestly, I find it to be a little excessive. When I found it was the standard, I felt really comfortable in saying, like, you know, most of these things I will be able to do in under 5 days, but some of them may take longer, and so I would
You
prefer to
feel
have.
comfortable with the lesser time, like 30?
I would rather.
Seems like a long time.
Yeah, I would rather go with the standard policy just in case I find myself in a situation that would require that. Again, I can't think of any that would, but you know, if San Diego Unified says that they need 60 days to figure that out and they've got a whole lot more manpower than me, my assumption is that there's a reason for that.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, does anybody want to make a motion? The approval of the UCP. I'll make a motion. Thank you, Walker. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I know, and that's why I don't think I can vote on it. I don't feel comfortable voting on it. It feels.
Gonna make the life of the secretary.
Not your job anymore, right? You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so the job descriptions, we'll put it up to vote. In the past, we've sort of decided unless there's any major red flags that we fall under the purview of the principal or the director to draft these positions.
Yep.
So if there are major questions or issues you want to highlight and bring to the board, we're happy to review them. But if it's just sort of, hey, blocking and tackling, here are your roles and responsibilities, here's your expectations. We generally don't need to vote on those.
Sure.
I know a precedent was sort of set with Laura, but I think that was
Definitely where the
great.
precedent came.
Yeah, it's great from a transparency standpoint,
Mhm.
but I think it's really more of a, hey, there's a red flag, or really not sure I'm operating this as a new position. I'm trying to make sure we're consistent with the direction of the school. But otherwise, you know, it's your job and
Well, that's great. I would much rather it be that way. I would much rather it not have to come to the board and put the position out there.
To create a new position, obviously.
Right,
But
because you have to approve the position to be part of the thing.
finances, right, but for a description itself.
yeah, I think if there's something that's particularly noteworthy or controversial, you want feedback on. Definitely, but
Right.
otherwise, if it's just standard operating procedure, that's what you're here for.
Then I appreciate that feedback. I would say with, in the STEM position, I probably, listening to that, I would have questioned whether to bring it, but I probably would have because I put robotics coach in there. And that is going to be a drastic shift from what, I shouldn't say drastic, but definitely a shift for that role. So I probably would have brought it here, and the nutrition services person, that's a brand new position that we have. So,
Great. And I think just anecdotally, we're all excited about the idea of a robotics coach and putting more emphasis on it.
well, I like to compete. This gives me an opportunity to go see, put our kids out there.
Cool. All right, so let's start with the first one, the STEM job description. Any further discussion, questions on that? Okay, that's great. Anybody like to make a motion? I will make a motion.
Are we actually gonna vote on it? We don't need to, if we We don't have to if we think that that's a blocking and tackling operational thing.
If they put it in draft.
I would like to, since it's on,
We already
if that's
have it on the
possible,
agenda.
yeah.
Well, I want to be careful of the precedent we set, and I think once we put something on the agenda, we punt things all the time like we did the very first thing on the agenda, right?
Right, Michael, I would still bring this back to you guys because of the robotics coach position. I do think it's a shift enough that you guys should approve of that.
Okay, what about the other one in the
It's a
nutrition?
brand new position. so
That,
it
I
needs-
thought we already approved that one though.
To my knowledge, we did not. At the job, I had to write the job description to post it.
It went for- yeah.
Oh, I thought because we talked about nutritional, I remember talking about it.
There was a discussion. It wasn't approved.
It was kind of-
There was no job description in the bank for me to pull, so I had to create it.
Food, right, like, I don't think they knew what they needed until they.
Yeah.
Set it on.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I am voting for, by the way, both of these. I
Oh,
feel like
wow,
it's
it's
really important.
interesting. Okay. All right, who wants to make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the onsite. Okay, put it up, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, carries unanimously. Nutrition Services Supervisor job description.
Motion to approve.
Second. Do I have that power?
uh,
I just wanted to do it in this one.
That's-
motion.
As a voting.
Yeah,
member, I
yeah,
think you
just-
do.
Massive overreach, but yeah. Okay,
Abstain, second.
yeah, let's put it up to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carries unanimously.
Or motion second.
Motion with
Motion,
Kate.
second.
Yeah. And that's it for open session. We're gonna move into closed session. Thank you. There's nobody out there. So, all right, thank you to you guys. Come on. Thank you. Heard it out. I wrote it in this theme.
Being up in front of everybody.
All right, nothing to report.